Good morning, folks. Welcome to day 2 of my North Highlands adventure. I wake up in a car park just about 600 metres or so to the south of the start of today's walk. The Walkhighlands route has a note to say you might not be able to get parked due to the wind farm works that are going on, and boy were they right. I've been awake since about 7:30 this morning. It's just after 9 o'clock now, and there's been quite a lot of traffic, so I was glad I had my earplugs in. So today's plan, at some point, probably really soon, I'm going to set off down the road in the direction of Ben Klibreck. It's about, I think I guesstimated it at about 7 kilometres to get to the top and about 700 metres of ascent. I heard that the route up can be very boggy, so I'm expecting my boots to be completely drenched by the end of today. The top of the hill has been covered in cloud all morning. It looks like the cloud base is about, it's actually dropped now. It was sitting at about 800 metres earlier, which isn't too far off the top, but it looks like it's back down to, yeah, it looks like we're back down into the 700s, about 750 metres now. It's going to take me a few hours to get there, so I'm going to finish another cup of tea, and then I'm going to set off, and hopefully the clouds are going to have lifted by the time I get anywhere near there. So I'll speak to you a little bit later, somewhere on the hillside. As I mentioned in the car, I could see the cloud base was dropping, and it continued to do so as I set off up the hillside. I already had my waterproof jacket on as a windproof layer, but it wasn't long before I had to stop and get the waterproof trousers on as well. Right, folks, so as you might be able to see, or probably more accurately, as you won't be able to see, the weather's closed in properly now. I got to the I've been over the first wee hill. Let's see if I can find what that's called. Knoxgriodin or something like that. I've probably butchered that name completely. So I've been over the top of that. I'm down in the Bialach on the way to the next rise, probably about 490 metres right now, and I am very much in the clouds. I've still got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4.5 kilometres to go to get to the top of Ben Klibreck. The forecast was 20% chance of cloud-free Munros. Looks like I'm in the 80%, although it's an improving forecast. So I'm going to remain optimistic that it does clear up before I get to the top. As I'm speaking just now, I can actually see the faint outlines of some hills just over on my right. So you never know what will happen. Right. Let's get going. I arrived at the summit to find a very sorry looking triangulation point. The winters clearly hadn't been kind and had left it shattered into 3 pieces lying on the ground. The clouds were down and visibility was poor when I first got to the top. However, I hung around for a bit and was rewarded with fantastic views all around. I spent some time soaking up the scenery before setting off back down the hill in search of somewhere a little less windy. So I thought I would stop and do a little bit to camera while I've found some shelter from the wind. You can also, it's a good chance for you to see the hill that I've been up. So that's Ben Klibreck. It's, don't be fooled by how rocky this bit is. Most of the route up, 3/4 of the route probably, is quite dubby, quite muddy. And the first part of it is practically swimming through a bog. It was really nice on the top. When I got there, there was no views at all, as you may have seen. But while I was on the phone to my wife, letting her know that I was still alive, the weather cleared up nicely. So that was lucky. And it's pretty much what happened yesterday as well. So when I get to the top of Ben Morrison tomorrow, I'm going to have to phone home just to make sure I get good views. So from where I am, what is it? Let's say probably about 6 kilometres back to the car. So I reckon an hour and a half at a good trot, and hopefully I'll get back before the clouds come down again, if that's going to happen. But the forecast was for improving weather, and I can see blue sky behind the hill. So maybe this is just setting the weather up nicely for my 3rd day in the hills tomorrow. Anyway, I'm going to get going and I will talk to you in a bit. Right, That's me back at the car, as you can see. I've got to say, that is one of the wettest walks that I have ever went on. The lower half of Ben Klibreck is basically just a boggy swamp, and I'm not sure whether I walked back or water skied down the hill. But and if it wasn't for my poles, this jacket would definitely not be orange anymore, and these trousers, well, they'd be a different definition of black. So I'm back at the car. I'm going to get this sweaty gear off. Why does waterproof gear make you so sweaty on the inside? Even the Gore-Tex, it's breathable, but yeah. I'm going to get this off, get changed into something drier, and get myself a nice cup of tea. I sat in the car with my cup of tea, and as I looked towards Ben Klibreck, I saw a beautiful sight. A perfect rainbow to end my second day in the far north of Scotland.